What's poppin', food lovers? Get ready to dive into the juiciest, most mouth-watering adventure you've ever seen on this episode of My Go-To. I'm Janneh, Konneh, your ultimate food explorer and culture connoisseur in the concrete jungle we call New York City. Think of me as your personal GPS to all the hidden culinary treasures that'll make your taste buds do a happy dance. These vegan nachos, and I knew I had to have them, and shishito peppers, and they were also delicious. Come with me to a Bollywood bottomless brunch in New York City. Now you might be wondering, Janneh, what is your superpower? Well, let me spill the tea. I'm like a food detective with a mission to uncover the most epic, under-the-radar spots that'll blow your mind and fill your stomach. I'm all about shining a spotlight on those unsung food heroes who are cooking up a storm and serving up a side of cultural pride. All right, are you ready for today's flavor-packed adventure? Hold on tight because we're about to take a wild ride to Brooklyn. We're talking soul food with a twist that'll make your grandma jealous. Yeah, that's so good. Oh, that's really good. We're not just here to stuff our faces, although that is a big part of it. We're diving deep into the world of Black women entrepreneurs who are stirring up success and making a name for themselves in this male-dominated industry. And get this, we're gonna get nerdy with Chef Eris Johnson about her culinary journey.
It's all based in flavor and building layers of flavor.
So sit back, relax, and maybe loosen up a belt notch or two. This episode is gonna be fire. Now, let me take you on a trip down memory lane. Picture this, a young Janneh stepped off the plane at LGA with an appetite and a cardigan. I was born in Guinea and raised in a large Liberian family in the South, so I know a thing or two about flavor. My taste buds were itching to take a bite out of the Big Apple. I was like a lost puppy in the world of hot dogs and pizza, desperately sniffing out a taste of home. But you know what they say, when life gives you lemons, make a viral video out of it. My struggle to find familiar flavors turned into a full-blown obsession with finding every delicious secret the city has to offer. And let me tell you, sharing these tasty treasures on social media, mind-blowing. I started at Sahadi's, which serves traditional Lebanese dishes. Literally make your own popcorn to enjoy the show with. It's like I accidentally stumbled upon the secret recipe for social media success. 1 part food guide, 2 parts cultural appreciation, and a sprinkle of my irresistible charm, if I do say so myself. So, what's cooking today? We're headed to the crossroads of Flatbush and Crown Heights in Brooklyn. It's where Black culture is thriving. Our destination? Sweet Catch Brooklyn, the brainchild of the incredible Kawana Jefferson. This place is where soul food gets a glow up. We're talking a party of flavors in your mouth. That's really good. So grab your forks and let's dive in. Tell me about your entrepreneurial journey. Like, what made you want to open this space?
I'm definitely a foodie, so I would patronize a lot of boils, and very often I found that a lot of the clientele and a lot of customers look like me, but very little of the ownership and representation did look like me. So for me, I really felt the need to have more representation. I was excited to embark on the journey to actually open a full-fledged seafood, kind of like boil concept restaurant.
So can you tell me about like a little bit how you came up with the concept of it?
My great-grandmother migrated to New York from South Carolina, and so I was raised on Southern food, literally smelling chitlins in the house growing up. Red rice, which you very seldomly get in New York, very different from like a jollof rice. I really felt the need and the excitement of being able to share my culture, essentially. And we really highlight a lot of our ancestry, our African-American fingerprints throughout the culture and throughout the history, and highlight a lot of those dishes that we tend to eat every day now that doesn't really get much exposure, or you don't really know where the origin is.
I grew up in the South as well. I love to see a restaurant like this in New York. It's so few of them. And it's also really beautiful. Tell me about the space, and how you came up with the design for it.
I wanted to teleport you to the Low Country. You know, we are here in the middle of Little Caribbean, also known as Little Haiti, formerly known as Flatbush, now known as PLG. But you know, it is definitely Brooklyn, but when you come into the space, it's inviting, it's light, it's refreshing. I mean, it really makes you feel like you are cracking crabs in the Low Country, by the beach, and that's really what I wanted people to feel when they patronize, a sense of warmth, a sense of inclusion, and a sense of comfort.
Even the drinks are so beautiful. Can you tell me a little bit about these cocktails we have in front of us?
Absolutely. This lovely lady here is our blue dress. Probably one of my favorites because I love mezcal. So we have some mezcal in there, it's a blue liqueur. We add a little coconut syrup in it, and of course some citrus, but it's really a nice balance, and it's probably my favorite because it's blue and it kind of takes me to the ocean. This lovely lady is featured on our summer. This one is a rum base.
Okay, well, should we try them?
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's really good. Oh my God, that's so good. And I don't usually love mezcal, but like the flavors just pair together so perfectly.
A third of 1% of businesses in America are owned by African American women.
Wow.
Although we're making great strides, how far we have to go.
Right.
And I do absolutely 100% feel a sense of responsibility to share my journey and to share the tools that have gotten me to a place of being an entrepreneur exclusively for 6 years. There's so much power in inclusion, there's so much power in community, and the stronger our community is, the stronger I am.
Yeah. When it comes to soul food, I feel like there's so many different stigmas in America about it. It's unhealthy, it's this, it's fattening, oily, whatever. There's so many different misconceptions. How do you want to change, you know, the standard or stigmas around soul food?
Well, I'm happy you said that because I definitely find that there is a stigma around soul food when it comes to just how healthy or unhealthy it is. Soul food being perceived as not Michelin star worthy, right? It's kind of like food for poor people, or, you know, it causes a low lifespan in African Americans. And, you know, that stigma is just pretty loaded, right? Because just culturally in this country, we are kind of like up against this uphill battle, fighting and kind of pushing through a whole bunch of stigma, where if you kind of looked at different dishes across the board, culturally, a lot of the same ingredients are used in a lot of these different dishes. We still have a ways to go in this country as far as, you know, how African Americans are portrayed and how a lot of the dishes and things that are close to our culture is portrayed. Having this platform allows me to lessen that gap and help to change the narrative.
Yeah, I love that. One thing that I think is so crazy that always blows my mind is that there are so few Black-owned Michelin-rated restaurants in New York City. Why do you think that there's so few soul food Michelin-rated restaurants?
Well, I think for the same reason there are so few African American entrepreneurs. You know, we're coming from a space, at least in this country, where we weren't free, right? We couldn't do a lot of things. So to be in a space where at least you have representation, I think having your foot in the door is the first start. So although, you know, it's still very skewed, especially with, you know, a platform like Sweet Catch, and working or doing my part to ensure that that changes and that gap is lessened. At some point, hey, maybe it'll be me. So
manifest it.
You know, to change, you know, change that narrative and really help to influence kind of like and bridge that gap.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Woo! After that mind-blowing talk with Kawana, my brain's on fire and my belly is growling. Time to fuel up. Enter Chef Eris Johnson, our culinary superhero, sweeping in right on cue. Literally perfect timing.
We have the blackened catfish and grits. It's the cheesy grits with smoked Gouda and Parmesan and some other fun stuff that I can't tell you. Blackened catfish on top with a savory tomato sauce with fresh charred cherry tomatoes and some fresh herbs. And then we have the coconut curry mussels made with coconut milk, curry, ginger, garlic, some nice aromatics like cilantro and scallions. Classic candy yams made with some maple syrup, brown sugar, butter, cinnamon, all that good stuff. And some collard greens, vegetarian collard greens, just vegetables, but they still taste a little smoky and braised to perfection.
Tell me about your background. Like, how'd you get started? How did you become a chef?
I'm born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. Been in New York for over 20 years. I started cooking kind of by accident.
Really?
In college, living on campus, got tired of campus food, started cooking in my dorm room, decided it tasted really good, gave it to some friends, and they liked it, and I liked the feeling of them liking my food or not liking it. And I just decided that I wanted to kind of continue. I wanted to learn how chefs did it in, you know, in restaurants.
I'm excited to try these grits because I remember you mentioned like all the different things you guys do with them.
Yeah, they got a lot of things in them.
And it smells just so good.
Yams are my favorite. I actually eat them as dessert.
Really?
I do.
So what ingredients do you use in the yams? Do you do like a sweet and savory, or like you keep it like pretty sweet?
No, the yams are pretty sweet.
Oh, it's just delicious.
Yes.
This is so good. It literally tastes like Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
How did you like incorporate the food you grew up with and the flavors into your cooking now?
So I like to use mostly like the techniques that we use in cooking in Cajun Creole cuisine, and it's all based in flavor.
Yeah.
Building layers of flavor. If you look at like New Orleans Cajun Creole recipes, most of them have the same ingredients, but everything tastes different.
Yeah.
It's mostly about highlighting the ingredients. So like, let's say if catfish is the star of the show, we might use the same kind of Cajun seasoning to season it, to fry it, to blacken it. But like the catfish and the actual freshness and, you know, getting catfish in the bayou, that flavor, like that's the highlight. So that's how we differentiate flavors, by building more flavors on top of what we already have. And you keep building and building and building, and it sounds crazy, but when you layer flavors like that, it actually creates something very complex and like very robust.
In African culture, it's very similar. Like,
Yes.
my mom always says, once you learn to make one dish, you can make them all, because
Yes.
it's like usually the bases are the similar, like with onions, peppers, whatever, and then the seasonings are very similar. But for people who don't really know, what would you say the difference is between Southern food, soul food, African food?
Ooh. So I think Southern food and soul food are kind of go hand in hand. It's like food basically that came from slavery, kind of, and food that came from slavery, food that was a result of enslaved Black people who couldn't get like the best cuts of meat. They weren't eating steaks, they weren't eating, you know, they were getting what they could. So like the ham hocks, they would let them have that. Maybe refrigeration wasn't that great, so they had to like salt the meat to preserve it. And so now they're using these things, like using what they had, like literally the original farm to table, and creating like they created a whole cuisine. And so Southern food, soul food, it's kind of like the same. There's some differences, like especially here in New York, like things are different. I didn't grow up eating fish and grits or shrimp and grits at all. Like that's something I started doing as a chef, but that's considered like soul food, like from the South, like very like Georgia style, Alabama, like fried fish and grits or fish and grits, shrimp and grits. African food, I don't think we could really compare like soul food and Southern food with African food. One, because Africa is a whole continent and there's so many different types of food, so many different cuisines, ingredients, preparations are similar. So like cooking methods, but different flavors, even techniques, like maybe like eating like fufu.
Yeah.
Something that, with your hands, but eating something that has meat and sauce. Like we have, instead of fufu, rice and meat and sauce, or grits and meat and sauce. So again, a lot of parallels, a lot of similarities, lots of influences. Definitely the influences come from all over the diaspora, Africa, the Caribbean, everywhere. So it's kind of like a big melting pot, and it kind of makes sense to kind of have a restaurant like Sweet Catch that kind of incorporates many of them, not all, but many. Like it makes the menu very cohesive.
Yeah.
It's like all the food is shaking hands.
I love that.
Upon entering the food industry, was that there's not a lot of people that look like me, and especially a lot of people that look like me in high levels. So, you know, I made it kind of my mission to not change it, but, you know, I wanted another young lady or a young man to come into the industry and not feel the same way I did. So I'm like, at least if they could see my face, then so but it's been difficult just because this is a difficult industry. to begin with, start to finish. And also it's difficult just as a woman to be taken seriously for your skill level, to be taken seriously, especially as a Black woman.
Yeah.
Like as a Black woman or a Black person in this industry, the expectation is this is the food that I can cook, full start, full stop. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's wonderful, but you know, it's not the case.
Yeah.
But that's the assumption. And just working in a male-dominated industry is always tough too, because it's always funny to me, like how kind of domestic cooking is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like even men want to come in and like take the reins on this too.
Right.
So it's been tough, but I'm also tough, so.
Good for you.
You know?
Yeah. I came from West Africa, grew up in the South, and the food I ate at home was one thing. Obviously, my parents were just sort of cooking African food.
Yes.
And the food that I eat when I go to school or hang out with my American friends is another thing, you know? Yeah. So that was when I first started like trying like different types of flavors and food. So it was like grits. It's like, oh, grits can be savory. Oh, okay. People put like shrimp in grits. People put, you know what I mean? Yes. All these different things. So tasting it, it's like delicious.
And even now though, some people like to, when I was growing up, I would eat my grits with sugar. Sugar.
That's how
I fainted. My soul just left my body.
That's how I liked my grits. It's sweet.
It's great either way. Like this is actually really good. This is really good. Is there like cheese in here as well?
Yeah. And smoked Gouda, Parmesan.
Yeah, that's so good. It's so surprising that there are so few Michelin rated soul food restaurants and Black owned restaurants in New York City. Why do you think that is?
I think it's one, just because of the way Black people are treated in America in general. It's like a big reflection on that.
Yeah.
And it's not because the food is not good. It's not because the food is not complex. Like actually, if you go to a lot of restaurants that are not Black owned, that might be white owned, and you'll see a lot of soul food influences in them, lots, but they'll just call it something else. So like, you'll see mac and cheese on the menu. Maybe they might turn the mac and cheese into like a little fried arancini and call it that, you know, and add some truffle to it. But it's still mac and cheese. It's still based on like the same techniques, the same things we use. So yeah, I think it's just a...
Wow, that's so true.
Yeah, so it's definitely not the food. The food often gets like disrespected and belittled, also called like unhealthy.
Yeah.
But it's not unhealthy. Like you're eating vegetables here. Like this is collard greens made from fresh collard greens, not from a can. Onions, garlic, like all these fresh vegetables cooked in its own pot liquor, which is very nutritional, like has so many nutrients in it, good for your body. And you think about also our ancestors that ate this food exclusively and like were living into their hundreds, like, you know, so, you know, it has soul food has like a lot of negative connotations to it.
Yeah.
That are not true, you know, it's like everything in moderation. Like, don't eat fried chicken every day, period.
Right.
You know, like, it's not good for you. But like everything in moderation, and I just think it's just a society that we live in. Hopefully soon the food can get recognized for what it is. And another thing too, I feel like Black chefs are made to feel like just the natural preparations of the food, like the collard greens, the yams are like not enough, and they need to be like elevated in some way to be acceptable. Right. So like I should open a restaurant, and instead of serving you an entire catfish fillet, I need to cut it into a nice little 3-ounce portion with my yams pureed and swiped across the plate, and my greens fried and smacked on the table, like to, to make some kind of dust in your face, like a crazy magical presentation, like just for it to be acceptable. And it doesn't. We can serve it just like this, cook it just like this.
Exactly.
And it's fine. I think that our food is worth Michelin stars as well, but it doesn't even get reviewed for Michelin. So that's another reason why soul food is not getting like that type of recognition, because it's not even being reviewed. Like your restaurant has to be a certain level to even be reviewed, even by just the New York Times, not even.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Like, maybe I should slow down. They'd be like, oh, she over there. Well, at least she love her food, right?
Kawana, how is it? How are you enjoying it?
Well, can you tell?
I can. It seems like you're loving it. I love it.
It is. I definitely do love the food that I serve, and it's one of those things. The small plate makes it. You have those people that don't like their food to touch. I'm very different. Yeah. So you could throw it all on there, mix it up, and really that integration of all of the different ingredients kind of just meshing together and just kind of working so cohesively is probably my favorite.
So I'd love to hear what you think the future of soul food is, like where you hope to see it go and what you want the marketing to be around it moving forward.
So I hope that the future of soul food is preserved. Mm-hmm. And I hope that like newer chefs don't feel the pressure of society to try to like change it, to change the dynamic. And I just hope that the integrity of it is preserved for years to come. I hope chefs, young chefs, like don't shy away from it, don't feel embarrassed about it. I feel like it's a lot of embarrassment about preparing soul food, like, again, because the stigma is like, it's lesser than, it's unhealthy. Yeah. So, I just hope that we could all have some pride in it and keep perpetuating it for what it is, the purity of it, the beauty of it, the deliciousness of it. And hopefully the industry can start to like respect that more. Like, we got to stick to our guns. This is good food. It's good food because you're taking it, and like give us our props.
Aw, I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If you like this episode, please follow me on Instagram @Janneh Konneh and make sure to follow and subscribe to Localish. I'll see you on the next adventure.